Welcome back to the Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I'm going to chat with Jonathan Bentz. He's with a great company called Netrepid.com and Price of Business contributor. Netrepid, you can learn more about them at netrepid.com. And you're covering a big event for us there for the Price of Business. Jonathan, tell us about Netrepid, tell us about the event, and then introduce us to your guest today.
Well, Netrepid is a provider of co-location, infrastructure, and application hosting services for growing companies in a wide variety of industries. We like to say that we help companies accelerate their technology from the ground to the cloud. And I think the event that you're speaking to, that Kevin, that you're mentioning, is the Next Gen Cloud Conference. And you can learn a little bit. The event actually happened last week.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No problem. You can recap it and learn a little bit more about that on our blog at netrepid.com. netrepid.com. And my guest today is Lindy Benton from a company called Medical Electronic Attachment.
Very good. Lindy, welcome to the program. Why don't you start by kind of giving us your elevator speech, if you will. Tell us a little bit about what you do in your company.
Well, we are, and I'm Lindy Benton, and I'm the CEO of the company, so thank you again for having me on the show. And
Glad to have you.
Great. And I'm with a company called MEA, so that stands for Medical and National Electronic. And we are a leader in secure information exchange technology, so we work in the dental, the medical payers, providers, and other agents, and we've been in business for over 17 years. We facilitate reliable and secure information exchange. And in our world, it's between payers and providers, and then other parties with the goal of making their job easier. So a lot of the healthcare IT companies do work in that provider-to-provider space, so hospitals talking to doctors, dentists, and talking to other dental agents and things like that. So we really try to get them paid, and that's really important for the future of their business and their security. And we focus on eliminating the hassles associated with the paper records and the communications between those parties.
Yeah, very good. Go ahead there with your question, Jonathan.
Well, Lindy's explanation of the company actually led great into my first question. I wanted to talk a little bit about healthcare providers and kind of that process of using technology to get paid. And maybe it's just a question that I'm curious about, but do healthcare providers really have that hard of a time getting paid by insurance companies?
It can be difficult for providers to receive payment in a timely manner with a paper-based environment. And I think with increased processing times for paper claims, that means to a provider that reimbursement times will take longer. And so the average turnaround time for processing a paper claim would range, we've heard, between 4 to 8 weeks. And that fact alone makes it harder for providers to get paid. With electronic claims, you can get paid in less than 7 days, and in some cases, we're seeing getting paid less than that. Now, you can imagine what it would be like to have to take your claim, and then a lot of the time, what we do, what part of that we solve is that there's more documentation. I need to see the scanned. I need to see the bite wings of the teeth if you're having something done. And get that to the payer. It goes to a mail room where it has to be sorted and then rescanned in so that someone in the payer world can look at it. And I think that whole process, none of us would have any kind of patience today if we had to do that in any other industry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there a particular size range in terms of the types of practices or hospitals that you work with?
There aren't. I mean, we go everywhere from the single care provider all the way up to 25 building health systems. By buildings, I mean facilities, so outpatient, inpatient, and all that kind of stuff. So everybody has a paper problem. I think the delta is the larger you are, the more paper you have.
Mm-hmm. Very good, Jonathan.
So what kind of? I assume that there are other benefits too to going electronic besides speeding up that payment process. Can you tell us a little bit? Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about some of those other or maybe unexpected benefits?
Absolutely, and I think overall the overarching concept there is peace of mind. but it's security, and it's able to track when supporting documents were received by the parties that requested. So the two biggest things that we hear from our customer base is the payer is saying that they didn't get it. And that could be absolutely true on the payer side because they're dealing with large mail rooms. Typically that's an outsourced business that they aren't. In most cases, they don't own it, so they're depending on someone else to get the paper scanned in for them. And there is a lot of lost paper. The other is when you and I as consumers and patients, what happens today is it's mailed or even sent through one of the overnight carriers. And that is not a secure way for our medical records to be sent from one place to another. As we know, they're left at doorsteps, they're left in the front, and I will tell you that in our building has a lobby like most buildings do. When I was leaving the other night, there was a courier who left some envelopes sitting. It was after business hours, and they were sitting outside, like in the front of the building by the lobby, and in it was medical information. So
wow. That's
that
incredible.
happens on a regular basis, and we all know it does.
Got to wrap it up. By the way, you can learn more about Jonathan at Netrepid, NETREPID.com, the good work they're doing there. And our guest today, thanks so much for being with us. And the website for them is NEA-FAST.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Great. And then, Jonathan, wrap it up with your final thoughts.
Well, and Lindy touched on it. Lindy touched on it a little bit there. If there's really, kind of what's the benefit to the general audience, the benefit to the patient, to have their medical practices kind of getting this information processed faster. Obviously, privacy and security with your information is concerned. Are there any other kind of patient benefits that a patient may experience if their practice kind of automates some of this processing?
Absolutely. I think they can be assured that their covered services will be paid in a timely manner by their insurance provider, and I think we all see all of the explanation of benefits that we get in the mail that shows the process where your doctor got paid or not. It keeps you out of the process so that you aren't having to wonder whether you're going to owe that bill because it's not getting paid. So I think a lot of that is number one. And number two is that you know that your medical records are securely being sent electronically from your provider to the payers and the covered entities that are paying for your illness or whatever you've had.
Very good stuff. I really appreciate both of you. Thanks for a great interview.
Yep, thank you.
All right, when we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here can be found over there at usdailyreview.com. There's some exciting changes showing up there next week. Stay tuned for more right here on The Price of Business.